and I'm going to call the annual meeting of Hospice of Martha's Vineyard, now Hospice and Palliative Care of Martha's Vineyard, to order. And thank you all. It's great to see everybody's faces. I wish it was around the table at the hospital, but we didn't do it at all last year. And so here we are doing it this year. So I'd like to call on Lori for the opening blessing.
Thank you. So this afternoon, we're going to hear about Hospice and Palliative Care of Martha's Vineyard's accomplishments and achievements for the past year. May we listen deeply, fully appreciating the hard work and dedication of our beloved board, staff, and volunteers. And as we listen, may we also give thanks that as an organization, we miraculously escaped the worst the past year had to offer. May we give thanks for the myriad ways in which we, as an organization, have emerged actually stronger and more resilient. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you, Lori. This is a significant year for the annual meeting of Hospice of Martha's Vineyard, now renamed as Hospice and Palliative Care of Martha's Vineyard. It's our 40th anniversary, and that's a big deal. When this hospice service was begun, there were a handful of far-sighted individuals, including Jack Wallace, Jack Greeley, John Shula, who were aware of the movement toward hospice in other countries and understood how important this was to the future quality of life for those of us who call this island home. The first director was Miriam Campbell. Carly Clayton was the first medical director, and the volunteer organizer was Sarah Eisenberg, and I do remember her. They started a ball rolling that has grown and grown with hospice and bereavement services that have provided comfort and support to individuals and families in need. Those pioneers changed the nature of end-of-life care on Martha's Vineyard. We owe them such a huge debt of gratitude for their farsightedness. Change, they saw a need and orchestrated an important change. It's not about assisting people to their end. It's about helping them live every day of their remaining lives to the fullest. For myself, I don't relish change. Who does? But like it or not, change is all around us. We're engulfed in it, and we've no choice but to stay calm and carry on. Some of our current change we initiated, the Medicare certification process. Some of it has been thrust upon us, COVID, and we've no choice but to acknowledge what it means to our organization and carry on doing what is necessary to keep this hospice service alive and well for the next 40 years. I hope that the board then, composed of folks now the age of our children and grandchildren, will see what we are doing today as wise and essential moves. So as we move beyond this awful year of COVID pandemic, let us continue to stay calm and carry on. I want to extend a huge thanks to all of our many supporters on and off island who in this past year of challenging fundraising went above and beyond to make sure we had the resources to continue to provide our services. Thank you to our dedicated staff and volunteers who embraced the changes that COVID mandated and found ways to continue to provide services to those in need. A very large thank you to Tom Hallahan for grabbing a hold of the COVID change and making the best of it, including leading us into the Medicare certification process. And an enormous thank you to all of the board members who have so generously and graciously given of their time and talents to keep us going. To our supporters, our staff, our volunteer, the board, and to Tom, the island deeply appreciates your dedicated efforts on behalf of Hospice and Palliative Care of Martha's Vineyard. Now, let's stay calm and carry on because we're not quite done. I'd like to take this opportunity now to thank two of our departing board members, Sandy Pratt, who has done 2 3-year tours, making up the full 12 years for the Pratt family, and Kathy Salito, who's going to have to depart a year early. And I want to thank you for your time, your commitment to the board. We appreciate it all on what you have done on behalf of Hospice for the island. And Tom, you're going to do the magic of getting the bowl transferred from you to Aruba. Is that what you're going to do?
I have the bowls here to give, and Sandy Pratt, where are you? Can you speak up? There you are. Well, I wanted to hand you the box. I'm going to hand you the box, and if you could grab the box from me.
I already had my box delivered today.
Oops.
So I have my bowl, and it's lovely, and it was sitting right here on my table.
Great. Well, thank you, Sandy, for everything. And then on the beach, We have Kathy Salito, and Kathy, I'll hand you your bowl.
Thank you, Tom, taking it. Thank you very much. Very kind of Hospice.
Well,
Thank you very, very much for your time and commitment to Hospice and Palliative Care of Martha's Vineyard. With that, I think I turn it over to Tom Hallahan.
yeah, and I'm still, we can either clap or do deaf culture clapping. Yeah,
Yep.
Which is great. Trying to get this back here. Wow, what a year. Who would have thought, that when I was sitting on the beach in St. John last year on March 3rd, and I knew we were in trouble when the NBA stopped March 8th. And then I really said, okay, we're in trouble here. This is pretty serious. And it was serious. And I want to thank all of the hospice staff. I want to thank the people who sit at the front door, very much at risk, for people. Either our door was locked and having to crack the door open and to tell people to deal with their needs and be kind and be gracious, welcoming, but also preventing people from coming in. That was a really hard cultural shift for us. I want to thank the nurses who had to garner PPE. Some we had, some we didn't. Thanks to our community partners who lent us PPE to use. I want to thank our counselors who shifted rather abruptly to telehealth, and it works. I want to thank our development office for how do we do this? How do we do who would ever thought of a summer quarantine, back in, February of 2020, and it was a great success. Our spiritual counselor, being able to do the same like our counselors, like how do we work via telehealth, other platforms to help our families along the way, and also how do we deal with this new process, well, not really a new process, but the lack of being able to grieve and bereave the way that we're supposed to as human beings. And then our volunteers, both our fundraising volunteers and our patient care volunteers, who so wanted to go and engage with our families, but continued to be patient throughout the year. But they became, rather clever with, using iPads, meeting through windows, outside on decks when it became safer to do so. So my applaud to each and every one of you for being able to shift, and not just once, but many, many times as we navigated this really, unknown, uncertain landscape that unfortunately still continues. So the Jim has mentioned that we have a new logo, and I don't know if Jess is going to be able to get it up here. But this is a logo that our development office has worked very hard on to reflect the work that we do. Our core values of care, compassion, and community are still here. But we are adding palliative care to our name. That's something that we've always done as part of our hospice care, but now it's there in name. So Hospice and Palliative Care of Martha's Vineyard. And I'm excited about the logo, the expansion. The name really reflects the enhancement and expansion of our services. The Medicare process that we did was very thoughtful. We did a feasibility study in 2019 by an outside consultant. We then made the commitment after looking at the financial responsibility to become Medicare certified in the summer of 2020, which was unanimously supported by the board. And our timeline now is to have the survey, the Medicare survey, done by the Massachusetts Department of Public Health, hopefully around November 1st of 2021, and to be fully ready to bill in the new year of 2022. When people, look at this major move to become Medicare certified, we will not be defined by the Medicare benefit, but yet the Medicare benefit is the right of every American to tap into. The aha moment for me was when I was speaking with another executive director in Pennsylvania with struggling, should we become Medicare certified or not? He said, "Oh, Tom, it's very simple. You know, are you meeting your mission?" And when I read our mission and our vision about being the agency on the island for end of life care, we weren't. We were referring people out to the other Medicare certified hospice on island when it came to extensive pharmacy or DME, durable medical equipment needs, or another aspect of their care that would be best met through a Medicare certified hospice. So he kind of put it pretty clear. He said, "Are you meeting your mission?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Well, you had two options, either explore Medicare certification or change your mission." And I love and I embrace our mission. So the decision was very easy, and it was very easy for the board, and they have put their full support behind this very laborious process, very detailed process that our staff has also got behind. So for that, I thank everybody. Now the fun part. The part about my job that I like the best is throwing birthday parties and surprising people. And so I get to honor two of our community partners, Rebecca Haig, who is the executive director of IGI. And can you give me a shout out, Rebecca? Then you'll pop up.
Yes, here I am.
Great, great.
Nice to see you,
And
Tom.
so she is joined by Lynn Whiting, longtime hospice patient care volunteer and supporter of hospice, but both IGI, Alama Slough Farm, which I'll get to them in a second, are great partners around the soup program. And we are so fortunate to have partners like IGI and Slough Farm, who together, Rebecca is the executive director of IGI, and Julie Scott. Do I see Julie anywhere?
I'm right here.
Yep, good. When you speak, you pop up. Great. And I saw that you were with Sophie, and I used to call Sophie the soup woman because she delivered soup to our office. So every Wednesday, they bring in soups here. And it's not just about good nutrition, and this is food that's grown on the island. And these two community partners work with this community partner to provide warm soup and nutrition. But we've actually had patients and families say, "What a great benefit. I think I'll come into hospice care because you offer all these different services." And as one gentleman said, "And you offer soup." You know, what a great testament to community partners on the island coming together. So Rebecca, Julie, Hospice thanks you, and we look forward to all these wonderful different types of soup that you deliver to us every Wednesday. So I would like to hand you a bowl from Hospice.
Thank you, Tom.
And you're welcome. And we want to thank you for continuing. It warms my heart every day, every Wednesday, that your volunteers, your employees walk in with the soup. So thank you.
I would just like to say, you know, we've had this great partnership with Slough Farm Foundation, and just so those of you who are on the call know, a lot of this produce has come from either IGI's farm, which produced over 75,000 pounds of produce this year, much of which we give away either directly or through providing soups and stews and prepared meals for those in need. We also have a great gleaning program. Many of you may be volunteers, where we go out into the fields of other farms and take any leftover produce that they have, and again, deliver that around the island to various organizations, the Councils on Aging, etc. So this was just a natural transition. We began to realize that some people can't get out to the food pantry or to other locations to pick up food. Some people can't prepare their own foods, and clearly needed help with nutritional, healthy, good food. And as my friend Leslie Clapp once said to me, you know, food is more than nutrition. Food is love. Food is community. Food is family tradition. And it seems to us that at a time when people are in need of hospice or palliative care services, that food becomes not only nutrition to them, but a way of connecting with the rest of the community and with themselves. And I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge Tom's tremendous leadership on the island for these past many years, not just around issues related to his organization, but he's helped many, many other executive directors. He's a real partner in so many ways. He's helped guide some of the younger EDs. Unfortunately, I cannot put myself in that category, but he's just been a tremendous friend and partner to so many of us. And I just want to thank you, Tom, for your leadership, wish you well in your new activities, and know that you have a place here with all of us whenever you want to come back and visit. And I promise you, we'll give you a nice warm cup of soup whenever you return.
Right. Wonderful. Thank you so much. I get to introduce Al Willicott, our treasurer for the board of directors.
Thank you, Tom. Well, 2020 was an unprecedented year that brought significant challenges, but we remained nimble throughout the year, responded to those challenges, and with Tom's leadership and a dedicated staff and guidance from the board, we completed the year with operating results that were not too dissimilar to what we had achieved the prior year, 2019. We have three significant sources of revenue: fundraising events, grants, and donations, primarily through our annual appeal. Obviously, our fundraising events were adversely affected by COVID, particularly our summer soiree. That shortfall was offset in considerable measure by a PPL loan we received in the spring that was subsequently forgiven and taken into income. We also received a grant from the hospital that helped further, and we thank them for that generosity. We had a very successful year-end annual appeal. We increased our donor base, and our existing donors reached deeper and contributed more. We ended the year with donations up 30%, an increase of 69,000 over the prior year. And we thank our donors for their generosity. Our expenses grew 9% over last year, but below the budgeted increase we had established before COVID struck us. 75% of our expenses are personnel costs. And as we experienced a decline in our census, we adjusted our staffing accordingly. We finished the year with a loss from operation of $270,000, a modest increase from 2019. Annually, we have funded our operating losses with contributions from our endowment fund, which we did again in 2020. And as a result of a contribution from our endowment funds, we achieved a near break-even bottom line in 2020, similar to 2019. We began 2020 with an endowment of $5,900,000 and ended the year with an endowment of $6,350,000. Adding back the $250,000, which we withdrew to fund our operating loss, and using our opening balance as for calculations, our investment return for the year was 12%. Our results thus far for 2021 are positive. In January, we received another PPL loan of $124,000 that we fully expect will be forgiven. Further, an additional $37,000 came in after year end from our annual appeal. And again, we thank our donors for their generosity. And lastly, our endowments continue to grow in 2021. As we've said several times so far, we are undertaking a significant strategic initiative, that is to become a Medicare certified hospice. We have begun that process and are making upfront investments in developing procedures and protocols, adding personnel, and enhancing our systems. We expect to be a Medicare certified hospice by this time next year. And in closing, a year ago to the day, the Dow fell 12% in just one day, and I had abruptly returned from Europe and was self-quarantining. The outlook was pretty grim a year ago. COVID is not behind us yet, but the view is far sunnier than it was last year. We are not entirely sure what all this means for our upcoming summer events, but whatever the challenges may be, we will find answers just as we did in 2020. And I think my next speaker is our clinical director, Chantel Patterson.
Thank you. And so I'm going to echo that it has been a challenging year, I think, for all, and that remains also true for clinical operations and staffing. But it was also really a lesson in adaptability, being able to change and shift and then change again. And truly our staff has risen to the occasion. It's become a common phrase in the office that we just pivot every time something happens where we need to shift and shift again. So I'll start off with our stats. Our census did take a slight dip as the pandemic started, but we've slowly and steadily climbed back to where we were pre-pandemic. And we've been hitting pre-pandemic census numbers for about the last 2 months. Throughout 2020, 78 people were referred to hospice services. Of those 78, 51 were admitted to services. And throughout 2020, our amazing staff supported 37 patients and families through their end-of-life journey during a pandemic. Our average monthly referrals were about 6.5. Admissions on the average were 4.3, and our end month total census was 22.5. As of today, we're actively serving 28 hospice patients for the month of March. From an operations standpoint, safety practices, risk management, organizational structure, as well as emergency preparedness really took a front seat in our daily operations. When the country initially shut down, we were really forced to look at our practices. We never shut down. We did pause for and put non-emergent admissions on hold, as well as our in-person volunteer visits so that we could focus and learn how to safely provide care to the patients that we were serving, as well as keep our staff safe on the front line. Our nurses, counselors, and volunteers maintained contact through video or phone conferencing with every one of our patients and all the new referrals as well. And the nurses continued to visit in person once we were able to secure all of our proper PPE. With the ongoing guidance from CDC and support from our community, including donations of masks and PPE from Amy Upton and the Corona Stompers, Stina Sayer and Sandy Nadelstein, and the Martha's Vineyard Shipyard, among many others, we were able to quickly resume all admissions while ensuring the health and safety of our patients and staff. Many patients shifted to virtual or phone visits when it was appropriate, or as Tom mentioned, through windows, while others saw no change in the services we provided, other than we were not able to see each other's smiling faces behind our masks. And what I feel to have been the hardest part of providing end-of-life care during this pandemic is no hugging, truly an adjustment for us all. We have and continue to constantly look to the CDC and the state for updated guidance, oftentimes changing weekly, if not daily. We've adjusted and shifted our practices to safely care for and educate our patients and families, to mitigate risk and stay organized structurally. And now from a human resources standpoint, in 2020, we did say goodbye and finally let our longest serving nurse, Meg Verrett, retire, begrudgingly. And we were able to honor her in our annual report as well as during our video interviews. We surprised her, Tom, with flowers, as many of you might have seen through our social media, as Tom loves to do. Meg served on hospice for 8 years and impacted the lives of so many island families that we truly appreciate the services that she's provided to hospice and to our community. Although we said goodbye to Meg, we also said hello and are very excited about the growth that has taken place in the nursing department. Jackie De Silva completed our very first new grad orientation program with hospice in 2020 and continues to pursue her bachelor's in nursing, which we're helping to support her through that schedule. Also welcomed RN Meg Cabral into full-time status. And we onboarded 2 new part-time and per diem nurses, Tom Coy and Deb Dalver, during the pandemic, which presented a whole new set of challenges on how to orient and train a nurse virtually, and has adapted our nursing orientation and education likely permanently moving forward. As we've talked about, we've also made some significant advances going towards the Medicare certification project. Some of the highlights from the clinical team are that we have implemented a new online learning management system called Relias for both employees and volunteers. This will help us prepare for upcoming certification, as well as move us forward with being able to train new staff and employees virtually while staying up to date with annual education requirements for all staff. We've spent a considerable amount of time researching and in the process of selecting and contracting with a new electronic medical record that will support both front office and back office operations moving forward, as well as integrate us electronically with our community partners, including Martha's Vineyard Hospital, local pharmacies, durable medical equipment providers on island, as well as suppliers in billing, that will be able not only to send and receive information from these partners, but also take that information and actually disseminate it into the working hospice chart. The new system will also be able to support our palliative and bereavement lines of service. There'll be lots of work ahead to onboard and train our staff in 2021, but it will all pay off when we have this great system to be able to learn it and use it correctly. We have also been undergoing the huge task of reviewing and rewriting all of our policies and procedures in regards to human resources, patient care, and administration to reflect the most up-to-date operations and standards of care. And this has allowed us to also begin creating a gap analysis to identify what needs to be done in order to get us ready for that initial survey. So lots of work being done there. And our quality assurance program, or QAPI, also continues to take shape to reflect all of the areas that we'll now be reporting on and tracking according to Medicare guidelines. In the meantime, our existing quality assurance program has continued to meet quarterly, completing online chart audits and reviewing patient satisfaction surveys while conducting our meetings virtually, which has actually improved attendance and participation in 2020. And so that will also likely continue into 2021 and beyond. As far as community outreach, despite most events being canceled in 2020, we were still able to participate in some community education and outreach events, including early in the year pre-pandemic, a live guest appearance on NPR. We were able to do our annual presentation for the EMS refresher course, as well as a discussion called Living with Dying with the Unitarian Universalist Church. And we also did some individual work with several college students that were completing internships, including pharmacy interns and the Rural Scholar Group from UMass. And we also just did a virtual remembrance event for families as well. Truly, this is an amazing group of people that we work with to be able to do all of this during a pandemic. They've demonstrated their ability to adapt and shift and not only perform, but succeed at what they do. So lastly, I'm going to report on the volunteers. We have not been able to onboard any new volunteers this past year, but we do continue to grow our list of interested newcomers and are looking forward to developing that online program that will allow them to join our team. We did stop all in-person volunteer visits, but we have slowly started to resume those when necessary with proper training. And by and large, the volunteers are mostly providing out-of-the-home services to support our patients, families, and organizations. As Tom mentioned, things like gathering groceries, making Valentines, delivering mail, checking in via Zoom, as well as tasks around the hospice office. We've really been trying hard to make many efforts to keep the volunteer force engaged. They're a precious group that we work with, and we really want to make sure that their service is as meaningful to them as it is to us. We moved all of our monthly meetings to Zoom and invited guest speakers, including a Peace, Love, and Hope sing-along with Roberta Kern. an experiential guided exercise called Walking Through the Fire with one of our own volunteers, Stephen Shapiro, as well as presentations from hospice team members educating us about their skills and services and how they can be utilized. We've been sending out a quarterly newsletter to the volunteer to keep them all informed of the changes here. And moving forward, we're looking at a big rebuilding year for our volunteers, really revamping the volunteer program, including the addition of a volunteer coordinator and adding that online training system, as well as an annual calendar and a remembrance event for volunteers, new recruitment and retention, and a recommitment to the incredible important work that they do for our organization and the community. So to that end, I will now take this opportunity to finally, because we've been talking about it for so long, take a moment to honor a volunteer in our organization with our annual Elaine Oyster Volunteer Award. Elaine was a true pillar in the volunteer community. She touched many lives of our hospice patients and families and embodied the spirit of hospice, always willing to lend a helping hand and embracing the core values of care, compassion, and community to assist patients and families to truly live each day to the fullest. This year, we asked for nominations from both staff and other volunteers of who amongst us demonstrated these same characteristics of service and commitment to whom we should honor this giving spirit. So this year, I would like to present this bowl to Barbara Magnuson Phillips as Volunteer of the Year. She has been here since 2009, 22 years of service. And I would like to read a couple of quotes from Barb's nominations and present this to Barb. Barbara Phillips, I nominated her for the Volunteer Recognition Award because I see her as the embodiment of what our organization looks for as support and for its mission. She was always the first to raise her hand whenever there is a need for help. She's not only a patient volunteer for home visits, but hospice visuals, and is a tireless worker at various fundraiser events. Barbara's service is done with humility and her usual good humor. Aren't we lucky to have her for a model for the rest of us? And lastly, Barbara treats her clients like they're part of the family. She's kind, patient, and is always smiling and cheerful. She's even cheerful at 2 in the morning when I typically see her doing vigils at the hospital. Now that's a committed volunteer. Elaine would be proud of Barbara's enthusiasm and dedication. So Barb, this is to you.
Thank you, Chantal. can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I have to say it's an honor. I've been involved with hospice for many years, and to be named in the same sentence with Elaine is really an honor. And I thank you.
Thank you, Barb. And with that, we're going to go to Jill Della Hunt and Jill Demany for our bereavement report.
Thank you, Chantal. Can you hear me, everybody? Thumbs
Yes.
up? Yeah. I'm going to go off script for just a second. I know we're trying to stay tight, but I'd really like to acknowledge that everything you just heard has taken so much, and particularly that woman who just described all that stuff is right at the center of it. And she and Tom have, in so many ways, along with support from our board, just done everything they could to keep as current as possible on everything that's happening. We all know how confusing and sometimes distorted information was in this last year. And I really want to acknowledge, and I'm sure this is one of those times when I could speak for all of our staff, that we have really felt held in this way and continuing to do our work. So no bowl, but here's a computer mouse if you want it. Thank you so much for that. And I am here to just, first of all, introduce someone who is new to our counseling, social work and bereavement team, and that's Jill Demany. You'll hear from her in just a minute because she's become our stats wizard. And she joined us in July. She's a 2019 grad of Salem State, the MSW program. And she has had a long dream and wish of both becoming a hospice social worker and of living on the island. She has some long history of being here, so we are really grateful and glad to have her. And Jess, I wonder if you could pop up that slide. In the meantime, I will just say that as you'll see in the annual report, that the counseling team, the bereavement program, provided 1,800 hours of counseling over the course of this last year. And in March, what that turned to for us was immediately trying to figure out how do we continue to do the work that we do, both with our patients and families, and with all of those who are in our grieving and bereavement counseling programs virtually. That meant very quickly pivoting, as we have said, to interacting in the way that we are interacting in this moment. Quite a learning curve, but we were able to do it, and now at this point do sort of a bit of a hybrid, but it was quite a year and quite an experience, and I'm glad that we were able to continue, and flexibility of Keely Renault and of Jill when she came on board with us and starting to do everything virtually. So one more piece there is just saying that the community has been so supportive of all that we do. And I want to shout out again IGI and Slough Farm, because the soups are huge for some of our clients too. We have some food insecure clients and clients who just feel very held by getting these containers of beautiful, locally prepared and locally grown food soups. So thank you for that. Jill, you want to give us some numbers?
I won't give you exact numbers. I don't have the pie graphs yet, but I want to first of all say thank you, Jill, and everyone. For many of you, the first time I'm ever meeting you or seeing you, and for the familiar faces that have welcomed me into this incredible opportunity and agency that has afforded my life dream of living here in a way that I could maybe never have fathomed. To some of the statistics, one of the numbers that I've been looking at is the number that continues to increase of the hospice patients and families that are receiving care and support through the bereavement program, and the team that joins together with the nursing and the administration and the volunteers and to form this interdisciplinary team model that really helps us meet that the core of care, compassion, and community, and allows a holistic approach to the end of life concerns and supports that are often needed.
We also continue to offer groups in the course of this year, a smaller number, and really having again to shift to a virtual model. But we've continued to offer through much of the year our parents group for parents who have lost adult children in sudden death. Our pregnancy loss support group is something that's new that Keely is offering in community partnership with the Martha's Vineyard Community Services Family Center, and our men's spouse and partner bereavement group. We are looking at, in the coming months, beginning to develop what other possibilities there might be. And in addition, we collaborated recently, as Chantal noted, with Rabbi Lori, and our spiritual care provider, in putting together a virtual remembrance event that was lovely and well attended. We also continued to do as needed, particularly around sudden tragedies that happen from time to time, of course, on the island, to be able to consult to community agencies, schools, other organizations as needed to support our community when needed. And that didn't change, unfortunately, the need during this year. So that did mean kind of trying to figure out the most creative and safe ways that we could do that. Really important part of what we do. And Jill, maybe you've got a little more to add for us.
Yes, I'm very much on that. I've been tracking the numbers of referrals and trying to make sure that we continue to cooperate or work with the community. And we have referrals, of course, from self-referrals within our agency, but also through the healthcare providers here on the island, from the other agencies in the community on the island. And this really helps us also meet that mission statement that Tom had referenced earlier on really providing support and care for any individual that lives here on the island that needs hospice or bereavement supports. And we're really, it's amazing to be part of this team and doing this, especially in the pandemic. But as Jim said, the sunny days are ahead, hopefully, and we're going to continue to work in the community. Thanks to all of you.
And just to finish up, again, this coming year, we also are going to continue with our development of programming that got put on hold quite a bit, that Keely is heading up, about developing programming for children and adolescents, and then figuring out how do we do more of a hybrid service as we sort of all discover together what's coming in this next period of time. And I think just want to final by thanking our board, our donors, and Tom for the tremendous support for this program that we are blessed and privileged to be able to be part of. Thanks, everybody. And now on to Jess.
Thank you, Jill, and thank you, everybody. So now that you've heard a lot today about our Medicare Service Enhancement Project, you might be thinking, how is fundraising, philanthropy, and donor impact affected by Medicare? Well, you heard that we are hopeful that Medicare certification will be achieved at the end of 2021, and the financial benefit of certification will be realized about a year after that. So for the next 2 years or so, essentially nothing changes in terms of donor impact. HPC-MV, our new acronym, use it, love it, continues to be a fully funded, community-funded agency for now. And for about the next 2 years, our core services, our hospice and bereavement care programs, continue to depend fully on the generosity of our donors. Once certification is achieved, it is important to note that the Medicare benefit will not cover all of the expenses of hospice and palliative care services. It will cover most for those who can use their hospice Medicare benefit, but there will be a funding gap where we will depend on philanthropy. And of course, we will continue to serve folks who do not qualify under Medicare, and donation dollars will fund care for these patients. Some counseling will be covered for those who qualify under Medicare, but most bereavement care will continue to be supported through philanthropy by our donors. Already, the Medicare program at HPC-MV is above and beyond the baseline of what is covered under Medicare, and we will continue to offer the same resources and more to those who have lost a loved one, as we always have. We will continue to provide bereavement counseling for all community members navigating a loss, regardless of if their loved one was in hospice care. All of this amazing work will be supported by donors. So now, the really exciting part, and let me see if I can share my screen for this. 1 second. The suspense is building, the really exciting part. It's not gonna let me. Try one more time, and then I'm gonna move on. It's not letting me do it. All right, well, I'll verbally tell you what the exciting part is. And that is the vision. The vision is to expand services so that anybody who needs care and support will be able to get more than what the Medicare benefit offers. For example, one area where we really see a need in the community is with people who are providing family caregiving. How can we, HPCMV, expand and support caregivers even more? We have a goal of developing a robust children's bereavement program. Imagine a bereavement camp right here on island where children who have experienced loss and grief have a chance to connect with other kids going through the same thing and receive support together. With Medicare funds supporting much of our care budget in the not too far future, the possibilities for innovation are really exciting. Starting now, because we're already on this journey, starting now, staff, volunteers, care partners, and donors are working hand in hand to create a center of excellence, providing support around issues related to death and grief for our community. So, in summary, the first thing is to pay back the expenses related to achieving certification over the next couple of years, and then carry on by developing expanded services as we continue the palliative care, hospice, and bereavement services that we're known for. Thank you for your support, and thank you for your partnership as we continue to serve our community together. And now I will send it back over to Jim Butterick, President of the Board of Directors, for his closing remarks.
Thank you very much to all of our staff, to Chantel and Tom and Jess and Jill and everybody that's a part of our hospice family. It's just so exciting to be a part of this and our annual meeting to hear all of the things that are going on. There's something that we're going to do now that is not on the agenda. And Jess or somebody, I'm going to need some help so that you're going to have to keep Tom's fingers away from his computer so that he can't mess this up. But through the transporter beam, there should have been 2 boxes that arrived on Tom's desk. Like if I put them right there, they should have shown up. Ah, they did indeed. They did indeed. I will let Tom, you don't have to open those right now because Tom, what I am going to do is I'm going to let everybody who's on this call, there are 52 right now, all have an opportunity to say something to you. If you would like to send a chat message to Tom, that's fine. The board knows that I'm going to call on all of them to say something to you so that they can unmute themselves and any of the staff, but any others that are attending, if they would like to send a chat or if you want to raise your hand and say something to Tom, let's start out with that. And so I'm going to start with Robert Sarno, who is the vice president.
Tom, you taught me a lot. I'm sorry you're leaving. I can't remember all the things you taught me, but I'm sure they were very important, and best of luck in your new career.
Thank you, Robert. Al Wollicott.
Sure. Tom, I barely know you. I have only worked with you for less than 6 months, but that's all I need to really realize what an asset you have been to this organization for the past several years. And I know we're going to miss what you have done for us. And we wish you well on your new part of your new journey.
Thank you, Al. Sharon Eckhart.
Yeah. Hi, Tom. Tom, the first thing that really struck me about you was your very caring attitude. I just remember meeting with you the first time when I was about to become a board member, and I sat down with you and I had tons of questions for you about the organization and about my role in it. And you took such a thorough and long time with me, as if I was the only thing on your agenda for the day. Although I know you must have had a lot on your plate. But I've seen that caring attitude over and over and over, and I know you will bring that into your next venture. And thank you for being with us.
Thanks, Sharon. Marilyn Wortman.
Tom, as the patient care volunteer representative, you've been there for all of us. All of us, there's at least 50 of us who thank you every day for helping us get through this pandemic and being with our different clients. I'll never forget the day when one of my clients passed away due to an accident, a fall. And what did I do? My internet. I ran to hospice and said, I need grievance counseling. I was so upset. And you were there for me as the nurses. You've just been a treasure. And I wish you well in your next endeavor. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Marilyn. Carolyn Coverdale.
Yes, this is Tom the Great, I would say. As you turn the page and go forward in the next chapter, I want to say that your business acumen and the knowledge that you have provided and also gained from being the director of this particular organization, which is not an easy organization to, I would say, direct, but you brought that acumen to support the infrastructure going forward in the next chapter of this particular organization. So I want to say thank you for your tenacity, and may you have the best going forward in the next chapter in your life.
Thank you, Carolyn. Sandy Pratt. Sandy may have had to exit for
No,
another-
I'm here. Actually, I didn't have to go yet.
Okay.
And I want to thank you from the Pratt family, from all of us. We've been with hospice through many, many changes, and you were definitely the perfect person to bring us to this point. I'm sorry to see you go, but you left us in just fabulous shape, and we can move forward from this, and you can watch us. Thank you.
Thanks, Sandy. I don't think Don is with us today. Correct, okay. Charlana Seymour. Is Char still with us? Yeah. I know she had a doctor's
All
appointment.
right.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay.
My darling Tom, ever since I've moved to the island, you've been my go-to resource for just about everything I need. And I've learned one thing: there isn't anyone on this island who doesn't know Tom Hallahan. And Tom Hallahan gives the best advice. Under every occasion that I've had the opportunity to work with you, Tom, you have served with integrity, devotion, and optimism. And sometimes, very often, beyond the call of duty. And I know personally that with a boatload of patience and a twinkle in your eye, Tom spent quite a bit of time teaching me Irish intonation patterns and dialect for a play reading role that I had as an Irish woman. Boy, we spent a lot of time working on that dialect, didn't we? Tom, my dear, I will miss your dialect coaching. I will miss the Gray Barn deliveries. I will miss our work together on the board. But most of all, Tom, I will miss knowing that you, fella, you are not right around the corner. Thank you. I love you.
Thank you, Char. Kathy Salido.
Hi, Tom. I just want to say, I have to echo Sandy's words that I think you were the perfect executive director, the perfect person to carry us through the last 5 years. And I have thoroughly enjoyed getting to know you personally. You have such integrity. You are so intelligent, and the kindness that you have given all of us is so genuine. And you are such a caring person. I think you've taught us all so much, and I will miss you very much, but wish you all the best in your new endeavor.
Thanks, Kathy. Jennifer Turner.
Tom, well, first of all, I just want to wish you well. What a huge change you're making in your life. We're all excited for you, and we'll have our fingers crossed for your continued success. But I have to tell you, when I think about the words care, compassion, and community, I think about you. It just fits so perfectly because you personify that. You are a good soul, and we will miss you. And the island will be a little less beautiful without you, but wish you all the best and much continued success.
Thank you, Jennifer. Risa Turney. Risa, are you there?
Hi, Tom. I've only been on the board with you for a short time, but I've known you, I think, almost as long as I've been on the Vineyard, which is about 11 years. And when I first came here and in the 11 years since I've been here, I've had a lot of twists and turns. And for some reason, you have been there in many of them. So I know you're going to do a great job in your new position. I know you're looking forward to going back to an area of the world that you loved and where you've lived before. And I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thanks, Risa. Walter.
Hi, Tom. It's hard to create new words that haven't already been said by all the rest of the board members, so I hate to be last. But on the other hand, I just want to say I met you when you were a county commissioner, and you impressed me with your leadership. You were different from all the rest on that board, and I appreciated your position there. I want to say that your steady hand and calming presence in the last 5 years has brought hospice to a brand new state, and your leadership with all of that staff. I mean, I'm so impressed with Chantal and all of the people who have spoken tonight. It is so impressive, and you have done such a great job. I commend you for what you've done. I commend you for bringing us to where we are today, and wish you all the best as you go abroad over the pond, and do well, but come back.
Thank you, Walter. Walter, good news is you're not last, because Michael Wertheimer's last.
Oh,
Michael.
I thought maybe I was.
Michael, you're muted.
How can you have the last word after what was just spoken? I'm one of the most recent additions to the board, so I hardly know most of you, but Tom, it's obvious you're an inspired leader, and you've had a personal impact on everybody, including me in my short time on the board. So I congratulate you for this wonderful work, and just wish you the best of everything in life, and stay safe in Baghdad.
Thank you, Michael. I know that the staff is going to have something separate for Tom, but Chantal, if you would like to chime in, that would be great.
So I echo everyone else that I have learned so much from you, both about the island and as a leader, one of which is that most people will only remember 3 things that you say. So that's number 1. Number 2 is to treat people with respect and as an individual, and it will go a long way. And number 3 is always celebrate with cake, especially cake that knowing which cake each person likes. Thank you so much for your leadership. We will miss you.
Thank you, Chantal. Jill? Jill or Jill?
Sure. Well, I mean, there's so little left to say and so much left to say. I think I'll just say thanks for bringing Lucy in all the time. And Lucy, for those who haven't met Lucy, she is Tom's 4-legged companion, and she brings us joy. And Tom, you have brought such heart to our organization, as well as organization to our organization, both of which are deeply appreciated. Thank you so much. Gonna miss you. Yeah.
Thanks, Jill. Jess, are you there? Yeah.
I am here. The only thing that I've really been thinking as everyone's been speaking and touching on just about everything is that what sticks out for me looking back at this past year is the tremendous amount of grace that Tom has shown as a leader to his staff. It has been a challenging year. I have personally faced some challenging things, and that's the word, just the grace that Tom has shown myself, I'm sure my coworkers, as a leader of hospice of our agency. There's no words to describe the depth of the appreciation. Thank you, Tom.
Thanks, Jess. Is Jill Demany, is she still on? Jill Demany, yeah. Is she muted or?
I want to thank Tom for having a sweet tooth, because I bring him candy and he's always receptive, and I feel like I've really ensured my job security. But I also want to say that Tom, you are going, I'm sad to see you go, but I'm so glad that you're going to bring you to other parts of the world, because you are going to make the other side of the earth even a much richer place. Thank you, Tom.
Are there other, I see that there are a number of chat comments that have been sent to Tom. Are there any, if anybody else, if they want to shout out?
I'd like to say something.
Sure, please go ahead.
I really want to thank Tom for his commitment to family and your understanding of that importance for a staff member. I've had a lot of stuff even right when I first started, and you were really supportive, and I'm eternally grateful for that. As a working parent, you have been flexible, and I'm really grateful. So, and I'm really gonna miss cake and your love of surprises and birthdays. Nobody does it like you. So
Are there others that want to make comments? You can raise your hand.
Jim, this is Denise Shapice
Denise.
from the hospital. Hi there. I know I'm probably the only thing left between a good cocktail and the end of this meeting, but I'll try to be brief. But, you know, being at St. Patrick's Day, and why wouldn't an Italian kid from East Boston receive an Irish blessing from somebody, right? So when I received it today, it made me think of Tom, and struggling over words to think of how to say goodbye to Tom and thank him so much for his leadership and friendship and support. I just thought I'd like to read the blessing if you haven't seen it already, Tom. And it says, may love and laughter light your days and warm your heart and home. May good and faithful friends be yours wherever you may roam. May peace and plenty bless your world with joy that long endures. May all life's passing seasons bring the best to you and yours. And you will surely bring it to the other half of the world. I know that. So God bless and good luck. And thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Denise. Unless I hear from somebody else, I believe that I'm going to introduce our new interim executive director, Kathy City, who I think Blink has signed on with us. And Kathy has been helping us after we made the decision last year to pursue Medicare certification. Hello, Kathy, there she is, tuning in from Florida. After we made the decision to pursue Medicare certification, we needed to go out and find consultants that would help us do it. And Kathy signed on very early in October, and she's been working intensely with Tom. Tom, if you press him a little bit, will tell you how many Zoom hours he spends every day, because it's a lot. But Kathy has been working with him very diligently. I think any of us that have been exposed to Kathy during that period of time have realized how incredibly proficient she is, how experienced she is, the knowledge base that she has of not just nursing, but Medicare and hospice nursing and the regulations. And she's just been of immeasurable value to us. And when Tom announced to me, I thought that 2020 couldn't get any worse with the COVID starting in March, and then the New Year's Eve day in the morning when I went over to talk to Tom and he told me he was leaving, I was just like, okay, this is a fitting end to 2020. Let's get it all, back in 2020 packed up back there, so I don't have to deal with it in 2021. But all of us that have had contact with Kathy have realized how incredibly talented she is. And when the search committee convened initially, after we'd asked them to get together, they looked at Kathy's resume and they talked with her, and they made a very quick recommendation that we should move very quickly to secure her as our interim. And so we have done that. So I'm introducing to all of you, Kathy Egan City, who is a very experienced person. At some point, you will get to meet her because she's going to be here in residence on the island from May through September. It's a very exciting time. You know, of course, we're going to miss Tom tremendously. If any of you out there would like to see Kathy's resume or talk to her or email her, we'd be happy to provide her resume and her email contact for you. I know you will be impressed with her resume, and we're going to be very excited moving forward, you know, pursuing our Medicare certification. So, Kathy, do you want to say hello to folks, or?
Nice to meet all of you that I have not met before, and have had the pleasure of meeting many of you in person as I was on island a couple of weeks ago. I would like to thank everyone for this opportunity. You know, I've had a long career in hospice, started with a community-based hospice similar to yours that was started by volunteers before Medicare even existed. Worked there for 20 years and learned from that leader who was a very value-based leader, which means they really do live to serve the mission and live the values of the organization. And what I've learned over time in working with many different hospices as an interim director or consulting or doing training around the country is I learned that I can walk into an organization and really within 20 minutes get a sense of their culture and really what that organization is about. And I want to reflect on Tom for a minute. Before Tom was even in the organization, I had done some volunteer training. When I come on island with family, I offered to do volunteer training often. So I've done that several times over the past 15, 20 years. And when I came back, and this last time was with the team doing that volunteer training. And over the past couple of years, met Chantal at a national conference, talked with her before, and I could tell walking in that organization, working with the team, that Tom had a tremendous impact on the culture of that organization. So I feel so blessed to be coming into an organization that is so grounded in your mission and your vision and serving the island that it makes what I'm going to do so much easier. You know, you have the program already. You have the commitment, you have the community that you serve, and you're very clear about that being the primary reason we're all involved in this. You know, whether we're donors, volunteers, employees, you know, very much tied to that mission and that strong leadership that you have put into place, and the message and the culture to reinforce that's why we're all there has been very strong and very, very clear. It's palpable. And I just thank you for that, because it is certainly, you know, something that I hope to follow in your footsteps, as well as you have put into place and keep that in place. Medicare does not change that and does not need to change that. And we've had these discussions with the whole staff already too. We're not going to lose that mission, and we're not going to lose the values of what you have helped to build, and the rest of you as board members and donors and volunteers and community partners. We're going to bring in some more processes and perhaps some additional types of documentation or policies or procedures, but none of that defines who you are for the community. Tom and the team have certainly helped to really define and refine that quite a bit over the past 5 years. So thank you, Tom. I hope we have a backbone between where you're going to be on the other side of the world and where we are going to be, because I know I will continue to need your knowledge and your history and your expertise as we move forward with the team to serve the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy, and welcome. I know that we've gone a little over an hour with this, but Tom, you have 2 gifts on your desk that are from the hospice family, and I'm wondering if you would feel okay with opening them. And I guess I should also say that there's a 3rd one that's on a truck somewhere. But
I was going to say 2 things. While each of you were saying these kind words, because I was raised in a family when the Kennedys were really popular, and you were told never cry in public, you know, and then the other one was treat your date like your girlfriend, like your sister, which for me was no problem. And the other thing, so sitting there trying not to, and the other thing was I was the kid who opened Christmas presents early and then wrapped them back up and put them under the tree and would drive my mother nuts out of the 7 kids. So I was sitting here trying not to cry. And if anybody knows me about surprises, I can't wait. So, so thank you. We have these beautiful weaved baskets here. Wow. And now I get to open this one.
That's island wampum at the bottom of them, Tom.
Yes,
those are made here on the island.
Are. Yeah.
And inside the wampum that's on is island wampum that's on the bottom. Put them on your desk in Baghdad and put jelly beans in them.
Well, I'll probably, the spices in the Middle East are so powerful. I'll probably fill them with that and keep them, in the house. So thank you. Oh. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. This is really quite something. Ah.
You need to turn it over. Look at the back of it.
I gotta get myself composed to do it. Well, actually, I'll have you look at the watch and not me. But this is a beautiful, beautiful silver and gold or silver and brass watch with the Vineyard. So every time I look down, Yep. Thank you.
There is an inscription on the back that I'll let you look at later. So
yeah, I don't want to totally fall apart on Zoom.
All right.
It is being live on the live on Facebook. So
live, correct.
Yeah. Ah. I don't know if I can read it without. Hold on, middle age here. Oh, it's upside down. Oh gosh. Can somebody read it for the HMV board? I can see that. With appreciation, 2016 to 2021, the Hospice Palliative Care Martha's Vineyard Board. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions from anybody that's still on the call that they would like to direct to any member? Covered a lot of information today. Boy, it's exciting what's going on. If not, then somebody want to make a motion to adjourn. Walter did this, and is there a second?
Second.
Okay, before I call for a vote on that, I also, there's another Irish blessing that I want to read for Dr. Tom Hallahan. And it goes, Tom, you know this. May the road rise up to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warmth upon your face. Rains fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hand. Favor of adjourning.
Okay.
Tom, we'll see you before you go.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you all.
It was a great meeting. Good celebration.
Yes.
Thank you all.
Thank you.